to welcome you to our virtual field trip to a pig farm. I'm really glad that you're able to join us today, and I'm excited to have Melissa here with us and show you what the inside of a modern pig barn looks like. I do just want to make a quick note that it's support from your Wisconsin pig farmers and our pork checkoff that's helping bring this experience to you today. So to begin, I want to do a quick roll call of all the classrooms that we have here. So I'm going to do my best to get you all spotlighted. When you see yourselves and I call you out, maybe send us a quick wave and say hello. So first up that I've got here is the fourth graders at Gibraltar Elementary. Can you guys wave and say hi? You're behind us. So there you are. I've also got the Discovery Charter School in Columbus. Can you wave and say hi? Good morning. We have Token Springs Elementary. Got a big morning. Let's see here. I have a group in Mount Horeb. Let me get you guys up. Good morning. We've got this group here in Crivets. Let's spotlight you guys. Group there. Good morning. And I've got a group in Holman. I haven't forgotten about you guys. There you are. Good morning, everyone.
So when I go up there,
and then we do have a couple that I don't think have video. So we're going to they're just watching along with us. And that's the group from Norwalk, Ontario and Wilton. So we welcome you guys, even though we aren't able to see you right now. And then also our group at Blackhawk, if you're there as well, we welcome you. Good morning to everyone there. And then I can't forget as well our farmer here, Melissa. So you see her right there. You can wave. And
good morning.
Good morning. We've got you there. And then I think right now that's who we have on with us. If I missed anyone, I'm sorry, but I think that's who we've got here. And with that, I think I will just turn it over here to you, Melissa, to tell us a little bit about yourself. And I think we've got some pictures here too that we can go through to explain a little bit more about your farm and the pigs and where they live.
Sure. So good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us on the field tour or virtual tour this morning at our farm. So a little bit about myself, and then we'll show you some little pigs. I grew up in Iowa on a hog and beef farm, and I met my husband Shannon in college, and we have 3 sons, Mitchell, Nolan, and Ross, and I worked off the farm for about 10 years, and then I came to work full-time for the farm, and our farm is a 3rd-generation farm, which means my husband's grandfather bought it back in like 1958, and so we've been the 3rd family to kind of take that over and try and continue that on. Our farm consists of hogs, beef, and we have crops that we feed our animals. We also have 7 full-time employees that work with us here to make sure that all the things are kept up and done around the farm, all the chores done and crops in and those kinds of things. So I'm inside our sow farm, which is where all the moms and the babies are born and they live. And so I'm not sure, Mandy, if it's up on the screen, it's the green pig barn there. And I guess real quick, why we have a virtual tour is, and I can't invite all of you to the farm, is because we have to shower into this barn in order to come inside here because all these baby pigs are born here. And so I have to wash all those germs away and then come inside. And so I can't bring a bunch of people here. And so we're fortunate to have internet in a good chunk of the barn here, and we can bring you here through virtual tour. So a term we use around here is biosecurity, and that just means it's a secure barn where it's locked, and in order to get in here, you have to shower in and out. So the next screen there is the gilt development, and there's lots of different pieces to our barn here. So that's where we grow all of our baby pigs, or we try to grow all of the babies into mothers that are going to have babies. So that's just them at an earlier stage in this barn, and I can't take you down there just because I'll lose internet service. But I wanted to get some pictures of that for you. And hopefully everybody knows what a sow means, and that's a sow, which is an adult mom, and she's going to be the one to have babies. So the next stage there is our gestation. So there's, I believe, a handful of pictures there on that screen. That the top two, or actually all those, the animals in that picture means they're going to have babies. They have babies in their bellies, and so the top two are their individual pens, and so they stay in there for about 42 days. And then it goes to the group pens on the bottom, which there's about 15 sows in those pens. And if you can see on the screen there, there's some white boxes above the animals there. That's where their feed comes in, and they're all fed at the same time by the flip of a switch. So when the hired men walk down there to feed them in the morning, they flip a switch. All the animals are fed at the same time, which is kind of a key part of the sow farm because they're hungry in the morning, and so they all want to jump up and eat right away. So herd health is important to us, and so we can tell at a quick glance when somebody isn't feeling well, which means she's not up and ready to eat right there. So that's kind of an important piece for us, and there's 4 guys that work over here and are monitoring all those kinds of things for us. So the other neat thing is they can shut the water off that runs in front of them. So when they're fed, the feed doesn't drop into a bunch of water. They shut the water off for them while they eat their feed, and then they turn it back on for them. And those animals stay together in a group. So when they come into the next room to have their babies, they're still with those same familiar animals in that group. And so then the next slide is farrowing, I believe, and that's the room that I'm standing in with some sows that have had babies over the last couple of days. When she has her babies, they're between 2 and 3 pounds when they're born, so they're pretty little. And an average litter size consists of about 10 pigs. I believe the one I'm standing in front of now has 11, but that's about normal. And they stay in these pens with their moms for about 21 days. So it's a short time, but in those 21 days, they'll grow to be about 15 pounds, and then that's when they're weaned. So in order to do that, she's going to eat a lot of feed. And in these buckets here, I'm not sure.
Yep, we're watching.
Am I on?
Okay. Yeah, so if we can see that feed sample, that'd be great.
Yeah, so here's the feed that she's going to eat. And when she's nursing all of these babies, she's going to eat like up to 25 pounds a day that the guys are going to feed her in these tubs here. And then in front of her, it's kind of hard to see here, but it's on the screen there. You guys have a sow card, which shows us who she is, when her babies were born, and I'm gonna make her jump up. So it tells us quite a bit about who she is and about the litter that she has. And The other thing that it shows there is the control box, which is on the outside of the rooms here that we're in. So the with the Wisconsin weather, it's ever changing, and so with that box, we can control or have a constant temperature in here. So when these babies are little, it gives us a constant temperature of 75 degrees so that they're comfortable in here and they're not having the huge temperature fluctuations that we can have here in Wisconsin. So the other things that box controls are alarms. So if the temperature does get too low, it's going to call somebody. If it's in the middle of the night, it's going to call somebody and let us know to come check that out so that we can get the temperature back to where it should be. There's fans running. I'm not sure, Zach, if you can, we have some fans down here at the end. So also in the summer heat, it's going to pull some more air through here and keep the animals comfortable. And I guess with that, that's a quick overview of what we have here. We have 4 rooms of farrowing. There's 56,000 this room here. And they have a tight window of about a week that they have their babies in. And so with that, I guess we can zoom in here a little closer and be able to show you guys some little pigs that are here in the farrowing room.
How about classrooms? Raise your hands. Who wants to see the baby pigs? Oh, lots of people want to see them. So, Melissa, I just saw, it looks like there was a little light that some of them were sitting under. Can you talk about what that is?
You bet. So I'm going to get a better view here. So those are a heat lamp. So we keep the temperature about 75 degrees in here, which is comfortable for the sows, the moms. And those baby pigs like it maybe a little bit warmer. And so that's a heat lamp just to keep them warm. It's a warm spot for them. So you can see they like to huddle underneath there so they're warm and cozy.
And about how old are these little guys that we're looking at right now?
So these pigs right here were born May 3rd. I'm looking at her, if I can get a good view of this. Her sow card right there tells us these guys were born May 3rd.
So they're just 3 days old.
She's getting a drink of water.
Mm-hmm. So how does that water work? Does she have access to that all day?
Yes, all day, every day. So I'm going to get a good view here of the front of her. So in that silver box there is where her feed drops down, and then she has access to her water all the time because it's not going to run into that feed.
Okay, so all day long she's got fresh water there. And then how about, I see there's kind of little gates separating her and the babies there. What is that for? Why is it set up that way?
We keep our sows in, we call them crates, just so that she's got a safe place to lay, and then her babies do, because she's about 600 pounds, and so that gives her babies some space to lay so that they don't get laid on, and she can move around and be comfortable there.
Okay. And how much do those little baby piglets weigh? You said mom can be up to 600 pounds there. How about the little babies when they're born?
So they're 2 to 3 pounds when they're born. And here I have one of the hired men here that brought in. So this is a pig here that's about 15, or going to be weaned this week. So on Thursday, he'll be about 15 pounds. So you can see the size difference there.
Okay. So this pig, the one that he's holding, is how many days old?
He'll be about 18 days old.
18 days. And the little ones here under the heat lamps are only 3 days old. So just in 15 days, they gain up to 10 or 12 pounds. So they grow really fast.
Yes, they do.
And what do the little pigs eat? I can see some of them were kind of suckling on their mom there. When will they start to eat the corn and soybeans?
When they are weaned, so at about 15 days, they'll start to eat. It's a pellet, so it's a compressed little, and I didn't have a chance to grab any because I had some audio issues this morning. But it's a compressed form of what I showed you, that's more palatable for their young bellies. And they're going to start eating that at 21 days, or they're introduced maybe at about day 19 just to get them familiar with it. But a majority of their diet is their mother's milk.
Okay. And then they'll have those pellets. So that's kind of the transition, like a baby food as you're going into solid foods. And then they get that ground corn and soybeans. Where does that come from? Do you grow the corn and soybeans as well?
Yes, we do. We grow all of our own corn that we feed to the sows that we have, or the animals that we have here. We do have some cattle, but we don't have to buy that. It's all grown here. And then the soybeans as well. And then there's other vitamins and minerals that are in there to make it a complete diet for them. But of course, we buy that from a co-op. But the rest we grow here. So we have 1,200 acres or so of corn and about 350 acres of beans.
Awesome. I also see, Melissa, I want to point out different things that I see here that we're looking at. It looks like the floor that those pigs are standing on isn't solid. Can you explain why that has the little slatted holes in it?
Sure. So all of these barns are built on we call it a pit. So it keeps the animals, all the manure, so their pee and poop is all going to fall through those slats there, and it's all stored underneath these buildings. And so in the spring and the fall, we pump that out as fertilizer for our crops to help them grow. So it keeps the animals clean, and it's a good fertilizer for our crops to help them grow. So we kind of have a double bonus there.
You're a good recycler.
Yes.
So you also talked a little bit about each of those moms has a card that goes with them. How else do you keep track of all the pigs on your farm and making sure that you know which one is which and whether they're all healthy?
Sure. So they all have, I'm going to just pan across here slowly. Hopefully we can get a good, this girl here has an ear tag, that yellow tag in her ear. So that's her identification number. So while she's in this room, on her card, that number is written, and all of her information is kept there. But then from these rooms, you know, it can be dusty and dirty. So all of that is taken into the office down here, and it's entered into a computer program so we can run reports on her, know, you know, how good of a mom she is, and keep track of her that way, and document things that she needs, or we can look at her history and know how many pigs she had the last time and how well she milked and those kinds of things. So.
All right. Who else do you work with on your farm, say for the feed or if one of your pigs is sick?
So like I said, we have 7 full-time employees, and then my husband and I, but we also have veterinarians that we work with that come on site and help do herd health checks and those kinds of things. We have nutritionists, agronomists. The nutritionists help us with our feed to make sure that our feed mixes are meeting the needs of the animals that we have here. And sometimes we need a vet to work with our feed person if we need any medications or things mixed in there. And then we have agronomists that we hire to help us with all of our crops. There's lots of outside individuals that help us on a regular basis.
Absolutely. It takes a lot of people and sometimes very specialized work as well to be able to take good care of them. I had a question here, Melissa, as we were talking about identifying pigs. Do you name any of them?
No, we don't really. It's when there's so many of them, there's a couple hundred, that or a couple hundred that can be born a day. It's really hard to name them, and as you can see, most of them are white, so it would be pretty hard to keep them straight.
So also you said most of those pigs are white. Do they ever change color, or the color that they're born, is that the color they will stay?
This is the color they'll stay. So they're majority white. I'm just gonna wander down here and see if I can get close to, every once in a while we'll get a black or a red mixed pig. But I'm not sure my internet will carry me.
Yeah.
I'm just walking down here a little bit to see if I can get a colored one, but
yeah, you're starting to get a little choppy, Melissa. That's probably about as far as you can go. So why are most of your pigs that color? Is it a breed, or what causes that?
It's the genetics that we have here. So our pigs are Yorkshire and Landrace mix. So
okay. So this that we're seeing here is where the moms and the babies are. And how long do they stay in this barn, Melissa?
So they'll stay here for 21 days.
21 days. And then where do they go after that?
So after this, the moms will go back to those individual crates that you saw, and the baby pigs will go to another farm. And that is called actually I think there may be a slide there that'll show, we haul, between our farms, we haul our own animals using the semi there. That's my husband backing up there, the semi. So that's the green barn that we're in, and he's gonna haul out these, that particular day he was hauling some sows, but that I was in here to get the picture. But otherwise, we haul all of these babies out every Thursday. They're moved to the nursery, and the nursery is where I do all of the pig chores. So the nursery is a barn that has a group of rooms. There's 6 rooms there, and they're there for about 5 weeks, and they're from 15 pounds to about 45 pounds. So they also grow pretty quickly there. In those pictures, you can see it's myself and one of my sons, Mitchell. He's checking the water to make sure that it's working correctly. And on a daily basis there, I'm checking to make sure that everybody's healthy. They have the feed, the water, the room temperature is what it's supposed to be. And that's where I'm in there in the morning and in the afternoon checking on them. So that's kind of in a nutshell, my job. This is not normally where I'm at. So then once they're there for about 5 weeks, they're going to move to a finisher. And the finisher, they're there for a couple months as well. So from that 45 pounds up until 280 pounds. And we have 7 farms. So in that picture, there's a long white barn. That's the barns where they're going to be housed there for that period or time frame. And we sell about 25,000 market hogs. So those at 280 pounds, we sell about 25,000 a year.
Okay, and I see here, those look like group pens. Do they all move together as, they've got room there and they're in a group of, say, 20 or 25, it looks like?
Yep, they're a group of 25. So yes, they're going to stay together for that length of time that they're in there. They they're with their classroom, as I guess you could call it, for that duration.
So similar, I think you've said before, of as, maybe kids are as a fourth grade class right now and you'll move on to fifth grade together and sixth grade and middle school, high school together. That's kind of how these pigs move too, that they're born together and then they just move throughout the different barns in those ages together as a group as well.
Yes, correct. So sometimes when you mix animals, they have a tendency to fight, or and it can be hard on their eating habits and those kinds of things. So we keep them together so it's a familiarity kind of a thing. So
Awesome. I've got this back on the screen here now, Melissa. We're looking at the mom and the little babies. Is there anything else before we open up to questions from the classrooms that you want to share that we didn't touch on already?
no, I can't. In a nutshell, that's the kind of farm that we have. We call it farrowing to finish, and that's from the babies being born all the way till they go to market. So
okay. And about how long of a process is that? That's a question here, from when they're born to when they're ready to go to market.
we say 5-6 months.
And how much will they weigh at that time?
280 pounds.
About 280 pounds. So they go in 5 or 6 months, a baby pig goes from weighing 2 or 3 pounds to 280 pounds.
Correct. And a sow's pregnancy is 3 months, 3 weeks, and 3 days. So it's a short period of time compared to, a human's pregnancy. So they grow quick, they develop quick.
They do. Well, I think here then, Melissa, I'm going to try to open it up to the classrooms to a few questions. That way we can get those answered. For those of you who do have video, if you want to start to pick 1 or 2 students to come and stand up in front of the camera, that way I will know you have a question and I can call on you. I should be able to unmute your classrooms, but if not, we'll take care of that as we go. And then the 2 as well, in Blackhawk, and I think it was that Norwalk, Ontario, Wilton district. If you have any other questions you want to type in on the chat box, I can read those off as best I can for you here too. So we will get going here. I've got, it looks like there's somebody standing in the Discovery Charter School there. Let me get you ready to go. All right, you should be able to go ahead and ask your question there in Columbus.
How long are adult pigs when they're fully adults?
Can you say that for me one more time and be really loud?
What is the length of adult pig when it?
The length of it, like how long is it?
Yes. How long is an adult pig? What is the length of it?
Ooh, do you know that, Melissa?
No, I don't. Oh gosh, that's a good question, buddy. I'm gonna say 5 feet. I think that sounds about right, Mandy?
About, I would say. And it's going to depend on the pig, but 5 or 6 feet, I would say, is probably how, from snout to tail, of what she would be.
Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
That was-
Betty. You stumped us.
That was a good question. We'll have to research that for next time.
Yeah.
Okay. I muted myself. Okay, let me get our next one up here. I'm going to mute this group. I see somebody there in that Gibraltar School District. Let me get you up here. And you should be okay to go ahead with your question.
What do you do with the male pigs?
The male pigs?
Mm-hmm.
So all of the male pigs, we call it, they're castrated, and they become a barrow, and they're raised just the same as all the other pigs. We don't keep any of the boy or boar pigs around here. Thank you. Good question.
Question. Oh, just wait 1 second. We're going to give everybody a chance first, and then we'll come back to you, okay? Let's move on here. I see somebody standing in Mount Horeb. Let me get you up. You should, we'll have one question first, and then we'll come back around, whoever in Mount Horeb wants to go first.
How many girl pigs do you keep?
So every week we keep 25 back and that grow to become a sow, which takes about 240 days or so. So just a little less than your school year, it takes her to grow into the size of being where she can be a mom. And we have 1,200 sows or moms on our farm. That's a good question.
All right. I'm going to back up 1 second on you, Melissa, and follow up to that last question as well in the chat here. How do you breed your pigs if if you aren't keeping any of the males back? Is that done artificially?
Yes, all of our sows are bred artificially. We have 2 or 3 boars around that help us show heats and those kinds of things, but otherwise it's all done artificially.
Okay. And then let's go on. I want to make sure I get time for everybody to ask a question here from the classrooms. So I see somebody waiting patiently there in Holman. You are up. Go ahead with your question.
How much food does a piglet eat a day?
Ooh, so a piglet at this size, I can't tell you that. She's gonna drink as much milk from her mom as she possibly can. But once they hit 21 days, when they're weaned and into the nursery, I know the pigs that I take care of eat about 2 pounds a day.
Good question. Let's see who else we've got here. Is there a question from somebody? We haven't gotten to the Crivets group yet.
Yes.
I see somebody standing up. Go ahead with your question.
How long until you get rid of the sow?
Good question. So the average time that a sow stays on our farm is 3 years.
Good question. And that's why you have to keep some of those back every week as well, right? To help replace and make sure you got enough pigs?
Yes. So it's just a cycle per se that works for us here on our farm to keep 25 back by the time they're growing. Some of those are we call them old grandmas by then, and it's time for them to transition out.
Okay. And then I'm going to go on to another classroom here. It looks like we've got somebody at Token Springs. I like your bow.
That's cute.
Go ahead with your question.
Where do you sell the pigs?
We sell the pigs to a buyer or a buyer out in Iowa. So they go for, we have semis that pick them up 3 times a week, and they're hauled out to Iowa.
Does that answer your question?
Does that answer your question? Okay.
Okay. And Melissa, can you talk about what are some of the things we get from pigs then when they're ready to go to market? What do they become?
Well, lots of things. So the things that we can eat would be, oops, I moved here too quickly on you. Who likes bacon, sausage, ham? Those are some of the things that come from a pig. But they also use some of the, their hide and some of those kinds of things for glue and, gosh, my mind just went blank, Mandy, on.
Yeah, even things like as ingredients in crayons that you might have in your classroom, or chalk, glue, I think you mentioned as well. Sometimes a fancy paintbrush could be maybe made with like the pig's hair, the stiff bristles on it. There's a lot of different byproducts that we get from our pigs. Let's see. How about Melissa? I've got one question here in the chat again, and then we'll go back to the rest of the classrooms, try to get through one more question if there is one before we have to wrap up here today. But how many litters a year does each sow or mother pig have?
So she'll have a little, on average, a little over 2 a year.
Okay. All right, let's get back to some questions here. We'll do maybe one more from each classroom, and then we'll probably have to wrap up just for time here. I don't want to keep people longer than what we've said. So I know there was another question. I've got somebody standing there. Let's bring up this Holman one here. Go ahead with your question.
What age do you guys slaughter the pigs at?
So the age, the pigs can grow a little bit different, but it's about 5 to 6 months is how long it takes them to get to that 280 pounds.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
All right. I know we've got another question here. How about in crivets? Let me get you guys up. Go ahead with your question.
How many pigs did you have on your farm when it was built?
Oh, buddy, that's a really good question. That goes back a long time. So, I'm going to take a guess, and I want to say back then, 75, 100 sows was a good sized farm back then.
Okay. And how many do you have today?
We have 1,200 sows today.
Wow. Thank you.
Good question.
That's a really good question. Yeah.
All right. It looks like there is another question from the group in Mount Horeb. Let me get you up here. I see somebody in blue.
Do you guys only butcher the girls or the boys or both?
We do both. So that kind of goes back to that question we had earlier. What do we do with the boys? So they're going to become barrows, and they all go to market all at the same time, regardless of what they are.
All right, good questions. One more here. It looks like at the Discovery School. Let me get you guys up.
How tall is a grown-up pig from the floor?
Did you catch
Can you
that? How
repeat?
tall? How tall
I
is the
didn't.
pig? So before we stumped you on how long the pigs are, now how tall are they?
Oh gosh, they're probably only about 3 feet tall. Maybe. I'm standing. I don't know if I can get I lost my camera helper. I was trying to see if I could get a good selfie of this girl standing here, but I don't think I'm gonna. Oh. No. Let's see. All right. Ah! So I'm down on my knees, and you can see my head is about even with her, and she's standing up eating.
So if that helps to know about how tall she is.
Yeah.
All
See,
right.
she's laying down.
Good job, Melissa. Thank you for showing us that.
Well, I know, I'm trying to figure out. That's a good question.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to move on here. I see someone else again is waiting in the Gibraltar school there. Go ahead with your question.
When the baby pigs drink from the moms, do they ever like sleep when they're drinking?
Oh, yes. Let me see right here. These little guys here, I'm going to switch the camera back. You can see these guys aren't moving all that much. They're just hanging on. See how some right there on the right-hand side are just sleeping, and the other ones there on the left are, they're going to town, they're hungry.
All right. I've got one more question here from Token Springs. I'll bring you up. Go ahead with your question.
How many different types of pigs are there?
I didn't catch that. How many different what?
Types of pigs are there?
Oh, Mandy, I'm going to defer to you. Gosh, I have no idea.
Yeah, so there's quite a few different breeds is what we would call them, is a different breed of pig. So Melissa talked about having like landrace and Yorkshire pigs on her farm. There's also some common ones would be like a Berkshire pig or a Duroc pig, Hampshire. There's some spotted pigs, so there are a couple different colors there. But there's about probably 8 or 10 core breeds. And then there's a few others that are a little bit more unique as well. But a lot of them source back to just that first core group of say 8 or 10. Does that answer your question okay? All right, good
That's
question.
a good one.
Okay, I think we made it back around to all the classrooms for twice here. Just in consideration of time, it's about 9:45. I don't want to keep people too much longer than what we had said because I know you've got other commitments throughout the rest of the day. I'm just going to scroll through. I think we got most questions answered. But if not, if there's any more after this, feel free, teachers, you can email those to me and we can have Melissa answer those for you if there are still any outstanding questions at all after this, or as you have further discussions, if there's anything else that comes up that you're wondering about, just let me know that. But with that, I think we're going to try to wrap things up here. I hope you guys had a good time with us today. Getting to see the inside of the barn and learning a little bit more about how pigs are raised. And Melissa, anything else from you? Otherwise, we'll have everybody kind of wave and say goodbye here.
I don't have anything. I just thank you guys so much for joining in on the tour this morning and being patient with us and checking it all out. So
Yeah. Well, I certainly thank you for your time here. And how about everybody in the classrooms? Let's give Melissa a round of applause here, thanking her for her time to show you the park. Thank you, Melissa.
thanks, everybody. Have a good rest of your day.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Seriously?
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.